Hey everybody, this is John.
And this is Vince.
And I'm GM Neil.
And we have a podcast called Legends of Tabletop. We release APs every Monday, including systems like D&D, Fear Itself, Rogue Trader, and Call of Cthulhu.
There's even some old Nerdbound episodes thrown in for good measure.
We also do weekly interviews with other podcasters, gamers, game designers, authors, and more.
Check us out at legendsoftabletop.com,
where we're creating legends one die at a time.
Hey, this is Ross Payton with Role Playing Public Radio. This is an RPPR episode. I'm not sure what the number's going to be because we're recording this well in advance. We also have a post-Gen Con 2016 episode coming up. But this is our post-mortem special for Delta Green, God's Teeth.
Ross, this is episode number, whatever number it may be.
Insert number
or episode 20XX?
No, it's the last episode we recorded is like 131, so 132. That's not how numbers work.
Oh, you just dated this episode.
Yeah, this is being posted. We're recording this today. I'm posting episode 7 on the thing. So,
this might be the last episode of a free United States of America.
No, that's not how that works.
In November.
It's well in advance. You guys are just making. Anyways, we should talk about the campaign. It was a great campaign. We all had a lot of fun playing it.
Oh yeah.
There's some great role playing in it. Very horrific. So thanks to Caleb for saying it up.
Thanks for just crushing our belief in the goodness of people.
Yeah,
Thank you for my broken body.
For killing and maiming and driving mad Minion agent. So I think we should first off with Caleb sort of explaining the background behind the backstory of God's Teeth, how it
came to him in a dream.
I hope not.
Because it started with, I believe the sort of inspiration was one of the stories you were reading from The Weird, at least.
Well,
which is an anthology.
As a campaign, it really started when we were asked to pitch Delta Green scenarios.
Yeah.
And the God's Teeth campaign is every one-shot I pitched. But there was no campaign structure around it. But we were playtesting the new Delta Green. We did the playtest with the companions that one time.
Yeah. Which I still have. These are one-shots that have been, a 3-card game.
The companions? Like the pre-gens?
No. The companions are Caleb Stokes' original character.
It's a monster.
It's a monster.
The two, yeah.
The Wives of March. For listeners out there.
But we did a
I don't know when
3-shot with that, and then the newer version of the rules came out, and they were even tighter, and we wanted to play more. So I was also thinking about, repitching some of these because the pitch, got lost in the shuffle as they were doing additions.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of came to me to just try and tie them together into a campaign structure, very similar to like No Evil, in that apocalypses of a feather flock together. And that
apocalypses.
Not everything has to be like related conspiratorially into a single thing, as long as there's a through line. And then that's where the God's Teeth structure came from.
It's a hell of a framing device.
Yeah. So the original idea was just the original scenario was just before we got to the campaign was based on the Scopsy and how awful that was in Glancy's book. And I talked to Glancy about it, and I'm like, because I read a lot of Andrew Vox. That's no news to the podcast. And Andrew Vox's entire fictional, universe is based off the fact of murdering the people he's not allowed to kill in his daily job. Just fantasizing about killing people that need to die. And I sympathize with that from my own work. And the Scopsy was basically that. So I guess that was the impulse of the initial scenario. But Glancy's the one who came up with the idea. Is like, well, have them do it and then get away with it and then bring it up later. And I'm like, well, that's a really good idea. And then I was thinking about stuff from the new Delta Green line and something to sort of transition from the old school Delta Green to the more legitimized in-house.
The first edition to this current edition.
Yes.
Because for those who aren't super hardcore Delta Green nerds, I don't know how you found this podcast, but welcome. Welcome. The first version of Delta Green was a setting for Call of Cthulhu and was set in the 90s, and the new Delta Green is a standalone game set in the here and now. So there's a
and the
gap,
the themes are totally different.
Yeah, and
how do you go from how do you go from the X-Files and UFO conspiracy theories and Majestic 12 to
post 9/11?
Well, to the War on Terror and the here and now. So he
Yeah.
used the campaign to.
Yeah.
How would that look? In a given way?
The Shredny Vastar thing came in because I really like that short story.
Shredny Vishtar, which is linked in the show notes of episode 1.
Yes. But the god of Shredny Vastar is very primal and very totemic and animalistic, which is not very Cthulhu mythos-y because they're all, alien space gods from outside time, and you can worship atavism. You can't worship, fungus that lives on Pluto.
That's
As easy.
I was gonna say, just you watch me.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't know my ability to believe in weirdness, sir.
Yeah. So, but it still seems sort of like out of character for
Yeah.
the mythos, and especially like Delta Green's thing. So that's when I got the language idea, and the language idea came in during
The pre-language idea?
Yeah. Came in during a professional development thing that I was doing for my job that was about child abuse, in which they brought up cases where they brought up both cases in which the children were raised without language, so they could never report to the police. And then they also brought up the case where animals were tortured in the children's stead to keep the children quiet. And I'm like, that's as fucked up a thing as I've ever heard in my whole life. But then the language thing got me the idea. I was like, okay, so what if the atavism and the primalness and the thinking in images is just the way the human brain translates communication from this thing? It's the only thing it can do. And when you start attaching sign and signifier on that, you photocopied the photocopy. It's getting too grainy for you to actually
game of telephone, the messages
it's getting too grainy for the communication to happen. And then with atavism and totemic stuff, I started looking that up and you don't worship the panther, you worship the panther, so you become the panther, and what the panther does is what you did, and you gain that sort of totemic thing. So that's where the idea that Shredny Vastar is actually you're fated, you're going to be its organ on Earth. It's going to live through you doing what it needs to do. And I just made that it kills other mythos shit so that we could get to all of the other scenarios which had separate there wasn't a single campaign idea in this one. They all had separate origins and inspirations that went into them, but after I pitched them, and then I didn't do anything for them for a year and a half. And as they were sitting there, I got more and more stuff. And then I eventually found the Teeth of God, which is what it was originally called, Ross. Misnamed it.
Well, you're welcome for the improvement.
Thanks.
Ross, ever humble.
And then it eventually became something we could string together with a campaign. So.
Yeah. It's interesting, how a lot of times you come up with an idea and then it kind of germinates for a while, like fungus from from deep space.
Yeah, exactly.
In your brain, and then it turns into something beautiful, or that takes over.
Or this.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I really like it. And one thing I do want to talk about is this how you sort of approach the cursed monster hunter trope or archetype, or it's kind of like an anti-Mole Ninja or anti-Delta Green power gamer thing. Because on the surface, it's oh, wow, I can know where the mythos is and just hunt it down. And I have to. And, I'm like a Frank Miller character. But on the other hand, if you actually examine it, oh, God, I'm just a victim. And this is horrific. It's a fate worse than death. So it's so I kind of want to talk about that.
Yeah, the first time I talked to Shane about that, I'm like, all right, so it sort of gives them the power to sense out mythos energy.
Yeah.
So that they can kill it and consume it. He's like, "Oh, that's awful. What are you gonna do? That a helicarrier jet next time? They're not fucking superpowers." And I'm like, "Whoa, calm down. It's anything that's ever been touched by it. So objects are animals, are innocent victims, and Shreddy Vastar don't care.
Eat it.
Our bass, just eat it. All right, that sounds standard, derivative, and awful. I'm like, all right, okay, cool.
And you're gonna, and also it's gonna be hitting in your head dude, there's a nice juicy mythos thing. Why aren't you killing it?
Yeah.
Or there's a nice juicy victim of the mythos. Why didn't you go kill that innocent person?
I also think something you did, I don't know, touching on what you said, Ross, how it kind of made us like these monster hunters. Something that really made it less appealing was how it more or less confirmed predestiny, which was Provost's big thing. Yeah. Which is This is all planned.
Provost was very Calvinist in his approach.
Yeah.
So.
But like,
You didn't see the picture.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, the picture in the orphanage. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
No, it's becoming a monster hunter is much less awesome once you realize that all actions are predestined.
Yeah.
It takes away your agency. And yeah.
Yeah, I was not for that. I was thinking my last conscious thoughts in my head were, oh, thank God.
For which character? But we should. Speaking of characters, why don't we first talk about the initial cast? Because I know there were some changes over the time. You don't have Sean here; he was a bit sick, but we could talk.
Sean wasn't there until
Yeah,
his breath.
Well, yeah, but
Because you did Santos first.
why don't we talk a little bit about everyone's character? I'll go last, but Tom. Your first character was both your characters were the pregens from
just my first one. I picked the astrophysicist.
Yeah, the pregen.
I wish I could remember. I just can't remember his name at the moment.
Right. Well, he's the astrophysicist. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he was just
Shell.
yeah, Shell. I think it was, and
Neat Shell.
And now looking about it, I think it might have been better that what happened to him happened, because if I had him till the end, I don't know how useful I'm going to be.
Why did you pick him out of all the characters?
Because I didn't want to. I wanted to choose something I had.
He was super useful.
Yeah, he was before the last one.
But no,
I'm afraid that'd be like Neil deGrasse Tyson storming some terrorist camp.
Well, no, I mean, he was useful.
You say that, Tom, but let me point out, that man is a badass in his own right. He was captain of...
put it this way, a very non-Neil deGrasse Tyson astrophysicist. I was in my late 40s.
Okay, but that's the thing. Like, you weren't useful particularly for that one, but like...
But no, the moments I was actually...
God's Madness, there was actually like a whole bunch of blue shit in there that you would have only your character.
I recall many times after Shell died, we were like, if only we had an astrophysicist.
No, I will say the build up to the last 15 minutes of his life was pretty amazing.
Awesome.
Just because I knew oh shit!
Hey man, you escaped that gunfight.
I did escape that
into the depths of space.
No, it was not space. I escaped.
Tom, I remember, I think you asked for clarification at the table. He wanted to know exactly what hellish nightmare realm he went into. So that was pretty good. So, okay, you wanted to play something
Luckily, it wasn't a nightmare realm. I was like, oh, I didn't leave the planet. That's good.
You just like flash froze and were crushed by icy depths of water.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then Cthulhu blinked.
And also probably crushed by the water pressure.
Little column A, little column B. So
As I said, I like to think my last conscious thought with him was, oh, thank God. At least I'm not getting shot.
Yeah.
Definitely, I don't normally play scientists, so I thought, I'll be in, because I had no idea what the scenario was going to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, yeah.
And also, I will never eat gator jerky. Thank you.
I forgot about gator, man.
That was,
that was my thing.
That was a nice little touch. Faust, for your character,
Dom Hall Kellogg.
Dom / Aiden. Okay.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Where did the idea come from, or what were you trying to think of when you were making them?
I didn't really have an idea because I was like, I'm just going to go into this with a very, very basic concept because this is my first big campaign with these guys. Okay. And I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm.
You went full fish mouth. That was a good choice.
For some reason...
Well, I would disagree with that.
For some reason, I did want to be an accountant, though. I remember thinking that would be good.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was the one thing that I was decided on. But initially, I didn't have a clear picture of what I was going to do with Dom. It was just I'm going to be this. And then I got stuck being the mouthpiece for the first episode. And I was...
Based on a roll.
Based on a roll. And that was not at all what I expected. Not at all.
But I mean, he had a very satisfying story by the end of it. So
very satisfying.
I mean, that's the thing. Is you don't need to necessarily have a lot of stuff.
And I worked accounting into it.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Eventually, we got it.
It was amazing.
See, that's good GMing. Find out where your character's strengths are and make it
exactly. No, it was awesome seeing Dom evolve and devolve simultaneously. Because I certainly didn't initially plan for him to have split personalities, and for that other personality to tap into the pre-language vast that compelled him to do horrible things.
Yeah. Attempt to do horrible things.
I did. I succeeded.
I don't make suggestions. I make promises.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, your first character. What were you thinking of before?
Sadly, his name eludes me too because it's been.
He had a short run.
He had a very short run. That's probably why his name eludes me.
Well, he lasts as long as Tom's first character.
Yeah, but no, since I usually take the tech or the scientist of the group, I really wanted to do kind of a middle of the road company man, so that's why I chose the agent pre-gen, just to give him as much. He had some combat experience. I think it was not full. I don't think he was touched by the mythos, beforehand, but it was just I think some unusualness. So to give him a little bit of stress behind that, but afterwards he was absolutely. I meant him to be just that generic go-getter from this and to see him how he evolved. And he ended up, because of the events on there, he ended up turning into, for the second half when we got into that game, the next game, pretty much Bruce Willis's broken character from Sin City, the detective, because just limping around too, which is one of the, when we get to it, I love the system that actually accommodated for that survival.
Yeah, the whole crippling injury thing that was in the...
It's pretty bad. I think that's what, your character was the catalyst for my initial, disassociation.
Yeah, that was that, seeing that,
that
was like seeing me basically go into the creek and then...
I see Quasimodo walk out from behind the curtain, and it's just
you
checked out. Yeah,
you. And granted, when we get to secondary characters too, afterwards, I'll get to the point because there was a time where I was going to be his wife and just have complete animosity towards you, but your character. But I decided the better of that. But otherwise, no, I like that. I like playing the middle of the road, and then later on, which I'll get into Lydia.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to episode 4, because that's when Lydia comes in. That's also when Tom's character comes in.
That's when all the secondaries.
Yeah, secondaries come in. So.
For Sean, I remember. Yeah, and that's about when he comes in too. So
taking over.
I'm
Santos.
just grateful I wasn't shot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the most thing. Is I just not even an option to just shot in my seat.
Yeah,
Which granted,
failed awareness check.
Failed awareness check, but also a massive disadvantage. But granted, I still love that because it just heightened the brutality of the situation.
Right?
It just happened.
It's like, man, how can guns be so effective at killing people?
Yeah, touching on that, I'm astonished with how many brushes with death a Dom had.
Yeah.
At least once per episode, there was I'm dying here.
No, I think most of the characters that made it to the end had... I think every character had some close brushes with death. I know Provost did. Especially in episode...
Kamarov and Aiden almost beat each other.
Oh, yes.
to death.
I think I almost ate Kamarov's face.
Yeah.
Well, you tried to, and I ended up punching you
a lot.
repeatedly.
Well, I know Provost had to shoot a bear.
Oh, yeah.
That was charity. That would have, if I had failed a couple of shot checks, that would have been pretty bad. But yeah, Kamarov.
Kamarov.
He was a pre-gen too, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
I picked him up. I think that I had a choice between him or one other, and I forget what the other one was. But
Sir not appearing in this film.
Probably Sir not appearing in this film, yeah. The whole reason why I went with Kamarov is because I've always been a fan of old TV, and I thought, okay, this is Quincy. This is going to be Jack Klugman, Quincy, right here. And it's going to be Delta Green.
Those late season episodes got dark.
Very dark.
Quincy was really ahead of its time.
That series finale wasn't even allowed to air.
Oh, hell no.
To wait till HBO came out.
I kept looking at him and thinking, all right, well, we've seen the callous, somewhat cold medical examiner in so many of the police dramas. I'm looking at him and thinking, this man doesn't have charisma. He's got anti-charisma. So I thought, this is an opportunity for me to stretch my role-playing legs a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to play him as abrasive as I possibly can. I want him to be just basically walking sandpaper to all of the other characters.
All right, yeah.
We're in a point where we're just telling each other to shut the fuck up half the time.
Well, there was a point. Would you like to talk about this? No. Well, I'm
Adventure
really
is
here to
awful.
help you. I don't want
No
your
one
help.
should want to do it.
No, please, just open up to me. Go away.
Yeah, there
Makes sense.
were some good parts, and again, yeah, the Aiden Cameron fight,
Fight?
yeah, beating
Oh, it was.
whatever, yeah,
Well, all right.
yeah.
We were both somewhat blown to shit from
Oh yeah.
what
The
was
house
it?
exploding.
And the Dark Young exploding.
Yeah.
The fact that we managed to survive the Dark Young / house explosion.
I think
is,
a grenade launcher went off like a couple feet away, barely.
Well, went off. I've shot that thing at point
Oh yeah,
blank
you
range.
shot it. That's right.
Yeah, after you fed the other 3 SWAT guys to it.
Yeah.
Inadvertently.
Yeah, I don't think they deliberately fed them. I don't think that was the plan. They just happened to be wearing those red shirts. So,
Well, and
Yeah.
And they were all,
that SWAT team
they were all
got-
2 days from
And
retirement.
Caleb,
They did.
not to put too fine a point on it, but if you're in a group of SWAT guys and you're an aging medical examiner, it's gonna no guys, let me run in first. I got this.
yeah.
Hey guys, did you hear the doc? He's got this. Let him fight.
They're good points.
No.
And then for my character, I know Provost, I wanted to make him kind of a counterpoint to a lot of the feds, so I definitely gave him sort of more of a blue-collar identity as like a state investigator, or at least as his background. And I actually made his highest stat intelligence. I remember that because I wanted to make him, someone who was, I don't want to say like Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, but someone who humble origin but smarter than his station, and kind of realizes. And so that's why he hates he projects his hate onto the feds and things like that.
He was pretty hostile towards feds at first. I
He
remember
was
that.
hostile to a lot of people. Yeah, I made him.
Specifically, he had a couple comments that were like, "Oh, you're a fed."
Yeah.
Yeah, see, honestly, to
Yeah.
me, it almost came like you were combining.
Even when he was a vet, he was
You're
like,
combining
Yeah.
equal parts of Russ
You left
Cole's
a raccoon
like
in a
present and
man's
past
office.
character.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
To me, because you're part of the state investigator portion of it,
Yeah.
it seemed like you were combining equal parts of Russ Cole's future and past
Yeah.
selves into one
All right, yeah.
hateful, intelligent.
True Detective was certainly an influence on him.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I do know role playing as him. I certainly there were times in the game where I specifically remember in episode 3 when we're dealing with that contractor at the satellite office, and so I'm like, when I want your opinion, I'll tell you what it is, or I'll ask her for it. And I just remember holy shit, I am being I really need to make these persuasion checks now, or I'm going to be I was. Making checks, my character couldn't, cash, that kind of thing. I feel, I was on edge with him, and it's sort of out of my comfort zone a little. It was interesting. A really great role playing experience, but it was really. And then I do know for that one scene where I put a dead animal in a character's office is again just someone lashing out. He is just spiraling out of control, but not entirely because he is, but he's trying to at least remembers enough to distract.
And in your defense, I do have to say, as an actual office worker, if I went in to find a dead raccoon sitting on my desk, I literally would not know how to react to that.
Yeah.
I think that I would be turning to everyone around me going, is this real? What the hell?
Some offices I've worked in, I'd be saying, shit, the raccoons got in again. Because we live in Missouri and it's a terrible trash place. But I understand what you're saying.
Or figuring out who is the hillbilly Don Corleone.
So, with your guys' character concepts, my basic was all right, federal law enforcement or some sort of state law enforcement.
Or accountant.
I had the plan for you all to be friendlies. And then you're accountant. And then he's I'll pick the astrophysicist that has no law enforcement whatsoever because I didn't read on the thread or read and did not care. And so we're back to west of the Mississippi, Chicago. All right. Basic instructions are not our strong suit. So the plan was always to have it before the events of Through Glass Darkly, which is the last canon novel. Sort of about the fall. And
There are
Delta
several
Green.
Delta Green fiction books, anthologies, and several. I think 3 or 4 novels that have the history of Delta Green. Through the Glass Darkly is the most recent.
Yeah, and so
It
if you
explains
look-
how it goes from the first edition Call of Cthulhu setting to setting up the new edition.
Okay.
So I made sure that, so to kind of compensate with it, I made sure I reread the book a little bit, and I made sure the date was right as the big events were happening in
Right.
that, and it was unsure how everything would shake out, and so that's how I wanted to bring the group together. Because you were just the numbers they had. You had no reason to be together due to your character
To be
concepts.
honest, when we first got the briefing from that, our contact should have been, yeah, no, we're going to leave. This is clearly not sanctioned.
So yeah, I had to figure out a way to get them on board, even though I didn't do that. So that's the Hello Kitty folder.
With the melted eye.
Yeah, and so I just figured, like, basically it's the Scopsy as written in Targets of Opportunity. Countdown, sorry. As written in Countdown. And,
Delta Grade Countdown.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you look at it like, okie dokie.
and they had no reason to be together. And I was thinking about that, and I didn't really want to do the arguing the premise of the game thing.
Yeah.
And I knew when I did a briefing, because you would be briefed. Everyone has been briefed.
Thank God we were briefed.
Thank God you were briefed.
Caleb, do you want me to flip this goddamn table?
For those listeners who are wondering why we're laughing, this is an in-joke to a game that has not yet been posted, in which characters were inadequately briefed.
No, we weren't briefed!
I said inadequately.
But that implies at least any briefing. We weren't briefed!
No briefing is
Because you killed the guys it was supposed to be.
Anyway,
Faust.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're going into the game commando or not. That's not on the character sheet.
Yeah.
so that was the idea of, like, all right, roll. I'll brief one character.
Yeah.
So there won't be an argument, and then I will give them a sanity-rending device to get everybody else on board. And then from there, it was like, all right, I want this sort of totemic thing, so everyone has to be marked. And then the twist of the scenario is not it's not you're stopping a bad thing. It's you were summoned to stop a bad thing.
Yeah.
Which I do like that episode of. I do like that option of getting the players in by here. Look at this shit.
Yeah, and then the theme of the second one was that, sort of the theme of the corruption, the mythos, and stuff like that. Transferring it forward, like there's problems based on what you did back in the cowboy years, which was a big theme in the book that's coming out. But I also wanted to be, since it was about like real human awfulness and terror. I wanted to be like the corruption of that as well. So like those problems not ending when the bad actor's out of the question. So like those kids grew up, and many of them did not grow up well.
Fancy that.
Weird. So that was where sort of Red Thoughts came from. And by then, everyone was marked by a terrifying atavistic god from outside space-time. So then you're on a team now. And that made more sense. But yeah, I had to call some audibles in the first scenario after, the basic premise was...
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of doing it. Like I think the start of a campaign is always the trickiest part because like getting the players to buy into the premise of the game, especially for a horror campaign. Where I mean, like in a D&D or any other kind of a lot of RPGs, the premise is like do a thing to improve something. In this, it's to prevent something. It's like put your life on the line to stop evil or something like that. But like in D&D, like you can be rich, you can be famous, you can gain power, you can have a happy ending.
You can fight the god.
Yeah. But in Delta Green, you pretty much know
you are a speed bump.
In a lot of modern horror scenarios, you know that's it's not about a happy ending,
Right?
Yeah.
And the characters in the setting know that, but they still have to do it. So, getting this, answering that, why the fuck should I not just leave? Why should I go to Camp Crystal Lake? Why should I,
Here, look at this folder, which I want to touch base on that one for just a little bit.
Yeah. You literally only...
The folder. It felt to me plot device-ish to the level of the Marcellus Wallace suitcase. None of us ever really figured out what is in that folder. It was never explicitly stated other than pictures of the scene. We don't know exactly what happened. We just know that what's inside that folder? Oh, that's bad. Okay. And it's enough to bring us all on board. And not only on board, but almost to the point of murderous rage.
I call it the motivator.
Not almost.
Well,
totally.
the best part about Delta Green fiction is that it does like what all fiction and literary fiction especially should do, is that it relies on the image. It's never like, it's a biotic, shoot it, or at least not the good stuff. Like, it's like, fuck, that looks weird, and then if it looks so weird you can't fathom it, they don't do the Lovecraft cop out. It's like, words could not describe. It's your one fucking job. HP. Words need to fucking describe. You're a writer.
I know, you're the king of fucking purple prose. Get to it.
It'd be like, look, I'm a hypochondriac shut-in. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you have one job.
I don't know, man. The one time he does
Using an
describe it.
unreliable narrator.
Exactly. But like, what I like is that they make analogies, desperate, inadequate analogies that are creepier than the real thing. So like, we had to trigger a warning the first episode, and rightfully so. And so like, I didn't want to describe that stuff just for my own edification. Doing so would be vulgar, and also doing so would be less scary than saying like your reaction or analyzing it to something, or trying to do sort of images,
rationalize it. Yeah.
See, this is where I get off the boat with like GMs are like, you can never tell my character how they feel, because like, fuck you, I don't control my emotions. Like, I bet you don't have perfect control of yours. And like, the alternative is like clinically describing everything in this like Hemingway-esque objective third person, and that's boring. The paper was 8.5 by 11. like that's not like in the tone of what the fiction's trying to do. So.
I mean, that's true too. That's the thing, is that like, for the average human, like almost everybody, it's not that we don't choose our emotions. Our emotion, we have the emotion, and then we rationalize whatever we have to in order to justify having that emotion. Like, I don't like that that person disgusts me. Oh, he must be a bad person. Oh, and then you just it's a bad person. That's why I'm disgusted. That's what this is what everyone does in their own head. You rationalize the shit out of things.
Yeah, and like there's mechanical things for taking away control of your character, and the sanity mechanics. And like, I think people think that when you describe an emotional state, it's totally untrue, or like taking control of my character and making me do things like that. But there's mechanics for that. But otherwise, if I describe an emotional state, it's because it's that thing, and most sane, rational things would be. And if you're like, well, no, I love the sight of blood and baby offal, and I'm like, okay, now you're just fish mouthing. Like, now I don't want to play with you at all.
You're not buying into the premise of the game.
Yeah.
And there are mechanics to represent that kind of person. That's someone who is adapted to violence and like has a real bad like mental disorder of some sort.
But in the case of all of us, it would absolutely make no sense to that, because we are all fairly sane agents at that time, or friendlies, who are seeing this horror for the first time.
As opposed to the last episode, where it's all right.
Well, we'll get to
at the beginning, I think, of all of us, the only one that would have been maybe at least somewhat what's the word? Used to seeing that would be Kamarov, because he works with corpses. And that's, like, out of everybody, he's the only one that would have, like, some reason to be like...
Well, I know we were all friendlies, which means, in Delta Green terms, is that we've been
I was also the only one who didn't look in the folder.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I don't think I did either.
Provost was like, fuck it, that's some weird mind control device.
And
Provost was like the kind of cop who's like, oh, there's bad people? Yeah, no, let's go execute them. I'm like...
I thought you guys
he was a bad person in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
he was like,
but I thought you guys did excellent jobs role-playing all that kind of stuff. Because, like, I like Kamarov, like, trying to feed the kids and all that kind of stuff like that. And then the girl on the phone's like, no, you should really kill them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, we should go. And, like, that sort of tug, like, on being unable to do that.
That was a strong ending of the first
I just got the raw panic voice. You probably should have killed them.
And then I like the the panic and how not well executed the murders were done.
Yeah.
Hey, we got away with them.
You did.
But then
like the new guy throwing up in the corner and everybody freaking about how doing. And then, but there were also moments of like badassery when you're like shot the guy and he's got lye on his stomach. You're just like, no, he's good.
Yeah. That was really good.
Just dark ass shit. So I thought that was really well done from a role playing perspective on everybody's job.
But one thing, all our characters were friendlies, which means that we'd all been involved with Delta Green before the game began. So, like, for me, I did have sort of a backstory for Provost where, if I remember correctly, I kind of allude to it in the beginning scenarios. Like, I'd help the group out before with people who were eating corpses or something, and like helping them fight essentially what I know are ghouls, but like my character would know. But like, oh yeah, no, if you want me to kill people like these cannibals, yeah, no, I'll do that. Some people deserve to die, and I'm perfectly content doing that.
Are the cannibals here now?
Yeah. Or if there's worse people, I'll
the basic premise was he was the only one who knew shit was supernatural, and they had to do stuff.
Yeah,
and then everyone else was a friendly. And then you all got recruited into the official group over the interim years because eventually someone found your numbers.
And even though Dom knew there was supernatural stuff, he'd never had any field experience.
Yeah,
he was just an office guy.
Well, my question was
Same
like,
thing with Kamarov. I mean, he started out with guns at 20, and I think I ended the campaign with guns at 25.
Because you missed 5
all
times.
the time.
But no, my question is: did any of you kind of develop some sort of backstory for your character for that, in terms of like what their experience with Delta Green was before the game?
I kind of had a thought.
Yeah,
Dom's was he worked as accounting and came across some accounts that belonged to the company, and so they were just like, oh yeah, fuck, I guess you know this, whatever. You're a good accountant. Do work for us.
Okay. Yeah. So just total financials.
Yeah, he was just a desk jockey.
Okay, follow this cult's money trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Shell, I kind of imagined he looked into, we have some classified, totally not NASA photos of some celestial objects we want you to look at.
Can you interpret these?
He's like, well, God, those look a little too symmetrical to be just celestial phenomena. No, they're celestial phenomena. But seriously, they're just celestial phenomena if you could look closer.
Okay, so nothing really. It's just still kind of vague.
You showed me shit according to actual physics, something like this should not exist in space.
Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, but I just like the idea of off screen in between, all of you guys have this plausible deniability. Maybe I've never seen anything supernatural until this night, and then later you get brought into the official thing and just thinking of your onboarding issue, there are dark things out there, and you're flashing back to bulbous terror grandma suckling two agents to her teeth, and blows their brains out, and you're like, oh, there is. I had no idea that those things were real. Sure am glad you told me. And then, walking into that conference room and realizing they know.
Yeah.
And freaking out.
That was kind of... Then when I went to my secondary guy, it's like, hey, I was told you needed some backup.
Your secondary character never saw anything.
No.
Yeah.
That's true.
I love that.
That was...
I was like, what do you guys blather at? You guys look like some shell-shock people I've seen back in the day.
I think you did encounter some weird stuff right before he died.
Right at the end,
before. David, what about Kamarov?
My own thoughts for his brush with Delta Green was that at some point in time he had made a body disappear.
Okay.
Somebody had given him a body and said...
Missing agent or, something like that.
This was never here. We need you to do an autopsy. We need you to give it to us on paper. And then this needs to go away. And it's, all right, so why do you want me to autopsy this person who is clearly dead from... How many headshots is that? He shot himself in the head 37 times with this revolver.
Yeah.
The ballistics will match up. Trust us.
Wait a minute. How did he reload and continue to shoot himself in the head?
Also, yes.
He actually did. Anyway, but he didn't know that. Aaron, did you have any?
For mine, I kind of theorized that my agent had just been on some sort of standard surveillance one. That he and his partner at the time had been called over to a storage facility, assuming they're after some drug dealers or some other people that are
Monty. That's what it was.
So, but they ended up seeing a couple of guys going into breaking in, but not going to the storage locker that they thought they were going to, opening up and realized when they told them to freeze, they blacked out for a while, and then once they woke up, it's a couple agents saying hey,
okay,
so you see that box over there? Don't open it.
Okay,
seriously, it's
so minor contact. Nobody had anything. So So we finish episode 1 with the premise things are going
With getting called into the conference room.
Yeah. Episode 2, the follow-up investigation. Yeah.
So at this point, like, remember when I wrote Bryson Springs? I'm like, near as I can tell, every Lovecraft story is somebody finds old shit, messes with it, shit's go bad. You find the shit going bad. You find old shit gets worse.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, and like, so kind of deconstructing like that part. So I was kind of deconstructing Delta Green scenarios and trying to like more modernize them. And for me, Delta Green scenarios have a governmental paranoia angle, some sort of ripped from the headline thing. And then the best ones usually have some sort of like sociological or science thing that's pretty recent because it's modernizing the mythos and that kind of stuff. And then you've got your like creepy occult, backwards ancient rite shit, and then in between everything's terrible. So like so basically every scenario after that basically has those 3 types of heat, if you want to use the 30 Rock analogy. So it's so in Red Thoughts it was basically the pressure from DG. It's like we need scapegoats for this. You will be it, and
you will be the
figure it out. And that was also torn from the headline from that Florida boys' home in which they found 53 dead bodies, and then they'd been operating for 4 decades or something like that.
And to be fair, that's not unique. Like there are cases like in the UK and Canada,
and Australia right now.
Yeah.
Oh, right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sort of science angle thing was the cerebral, I forget what it's called, encephalopathy, the head trauma thing, repeated head trauma from NFL.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that would be a cool way to manifest with, that would be a thing that would happen if you got your brain fucked with by mythos powers.
All right.
So that's what all the social workers had. And
that's also the explanation for Kamarov's obsession with CAT scans from then on.
Yeah. And then that also goes along with like the organizational thing, because like we don't take very good care of social workers or people once they age out of the system and stuff like that. So bus therapy. And then the occult thing was like homeless teens using graffiti to communicate their arcane murders. That was the unknown army shit. So
I mean, there's folklorists who've done studies of the homeless communities, young homeless communities in, I think, actually Florida, and they have their own elaborate mythologies in a lot of them. There's I think there is one in Florida, a community of them. They have these stories about some sort of savior, messiah figure. They call the Blue Lady, who like saves and protects homeless kids. So I mean, it's this is again not necessarily ripped from the headlines, but based on real material. Which makes it more, I don't know, more challenging rather than some, taking like something straight from Lovecraft and like, oh, but now it's in the future, The horror of Red Hook wouldn't really work.
Yeah, the trigger warning on all episodes was intentional. And is not apologized for.
Yeah. Because it's real and therefore closer to home.
No, I mean, it's not, this is a pretty, sensitive, it deals with real horrific stuff. I mean, we're kind of a desensitized culture now. You really have to, you can't just you tell a Grimm's fairy tale and scare people.
Well, I like to push the boundaries when I'm doing horror and stuff, and I was really worried about doing that because I understand, like, if it's inspired by real world hurt, I understand the real world hurt, like, and I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable with that, and I just never in a million years saw the controversy being that I called it a trigger warning. Which just blows my mind. And then people are like linking me freaking articles about trigger warnings being too much in school. Oh, I'm not aware RPPR is for college credit. I'm not aware that you needed to listen to this to get your goddamn degree. I thought we were doing a free podcast you could turn off at any fucking moment. The whole identity politics shit they got mixed up with it was just mind blowing. But I mean, makes you feel better about the content. I guess that wasn't too offensive.
People misuse this kind of stuff for their own political agendas to make themselves feel better or spirit others. So, what can you do? The
best with what we got, Ross. That's what we can do.
And That's true. But one thing I do, talking about the best you can do with what you have, this was the episode in which Aaron's first character gets crippled by those things.
I called them gatorpedes.
Gatorpedes.
Okay.
They were like people plus alligators plus more alligators.
Gatorpede. That's wow.
One thing, it also kind of shows.
What's even
like,
mythos? It's just a Floridian.
one thing that a lot of purist Lovecraftian people do is that they only use the creatures that Lovecraft made up. Not really. Like Lovecraft just made up shit on the fly, basically.
And it was usually lizard people.
I mean, the fungi from Ego, like, there's a lot of interesting things, but like, if you do a Delta Green game, you can use some of the ideas thematically. Like, you do like the Hound of Tandalos.
And Dark Young.
Dark Young.
Yeah.
I thought Tandalos was expanded. Did Lovecraft come up with that? Or?
Actually, you're right. I think it's Fell.
that's
who did that. But yeah, it's considered.
Yeah, Lovecraft. Yeah.
But we have the first crippling injury.
Yeah, we did.
Which was
Yay!
which is a real interesting thing because again, it's sort of like an emergent game design. Like, you didn't intend for this to happen.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, one because
It's a good rule.
Absolutely for people like me because I kind of ran in there.
Yeah.
I'm a hero!
So
Yeah, he did.
Flying
didn't
lesson.
you?
Now, did I
did.
literally throw you under the bus, or what happened there?
You got tail whipped into a concrete pillar in the underpass.
I jumped in
you just got like thrown into
And
a concrete
then I
wall.
fight or flighted.
Yeah, and then you ran into the swamp.
And then I was
Yeah,
like, fuck
you saw
it.
that and went, fuck this.
Yeah.
And
I think was I just
no way. I lost it.
You were just blowing shit away with a shotgun. You were actually.
I was the one that was blowing shit away with the
You were
shotgun.
both going at it. There were 5 of them.
At least 2. You were definitely in fight mode.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I lost
you cracked.
it. I lost
you
it.
cracked.
But I went to fight mode.
Well, yeah, so basically what
I
happened,
let
you
another
went in the
second
underpass, one of the kids had learned language, because they had to get by and
Yeah,
food and stuff, but the rest had not, so they could become avatars of Bast. So, like, you went down there and went to, like, the sorcerer guy thinking he had the most power, when he actually had the least.
Power.
And he'd lost the connection to his savior that he summoned all those years past.
He was
so you were
deaf,
like,
right?
Yeah, so you're like, I'm going to get it, but, like, even sign is
Yeah,
language.
still language.
So like you when you went down there, it was like, I'm going to get him, and he grabs the gun and puts it in his mouth. You lost it a little bit.
Yeah, because I was like, holy shit.
And then while you were freaking out, a gatorpede just done wrecked you.
Wait,
Like they do.
there were 2 steps. You got hit into a tree first.
Oh yeah, the
And then
tree.
the gatorpede cracked the tree in half. And you.
and folded me into an
Yes.
agent pie.
And then I rolled for the damage, and it was like Constitution, so it's like, oh yeah, your ribs and back were just crushed.
Gone.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, speaking of going to the system.
And meanwhile, Ross and David's character were just like mowing down gator peas.
I forgot what I was doing.
You were in the van.
I was in the van.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just a scientist, man. I don't know what the fuck this is.
But yeah, with the system though too, because that was the surprising one we got to test out. Because granted, he could have just died right then and there, and by all rights,
Probably should have.
Well, that's kind of, I want to understand, like, you could have easily written them out and had a new character for the 3rd game, but you decided to stick to it even though you had, like, a con of 2.
A con of 2,
like
but
that.
honestly, the reason I wanted to keep him in there, if at all possible, was one, that the agency, in my mind, would still keep him in there as just a tracker, a disposable tracker. You are still up until you cannot move.
Well, yeah, it's not like there's a retirement plan since they know you are like
Super magical curse.
super magical curse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So that's
you're
why I wanted to
walking,
keep up there.
so...
And then I
Get
thought
in there.
character-wise too, I thought it would be really interesting to just I would not say grimdark him, but just basically make him
Give him the Batman voice.
camera off him to an extent of like, ugh, I'm gonna do this until I die. I'm gonna get back until I fall asleep and get shot.
Well, and you say camera off him, but say what you will for that crazy old man, but that fucker was spry.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
more smart than me,
Kamarov
goddamn.
chased Kamarov had a chase scene on foot, I think.
Yeah, I think that was in Reno. That was
Yeah.
chasing the guy from the house.
And I
or into
just
the
chased
parking
him for
garage.
several
Yeah, but-
blocks. I mean,
So that was God's Eye.
Yeah, God's Eye. One thing, and that's what kind of brings up, like, I remember your, like, vignette for that was physical therapy.
That was
so.
it was honestly great. Like, I'm really glad that you didn't just write the character out, because it's strange.
I'm a little sad he died instantaneously.
Yeah,
I am too, because I wanted to keep on there, but then again, we wouldn't have gotten Lydia, so...
Yeah. Well, but anyway, yeah. It's interesting to me that keeping the character, the character surviving what should have been his death was more traumatic for everyone else involved.
Yeah, because
and
that
not
had a
just
group
your
of
character.
Vectos. Seeing
Yeah.
Quasimodo seeing Agent Quasimodo wander out. I'm still alive, I can still do it.
Like, for the sake of the other characters, it would have been better if he died.
And for Dom, I love the fact that it just, the massive amount of guilt washing over to you that...
checked out.
And then switching over to Aiden.
When you were doing that fight scene with the gator pedes, did you kind of anticipate this kind of react? Like, what did you think we would do? Did you have any? Were you just like, I want to see what happens, or did you kind of predict that this was going to happen?
I just want to see what happens.
Suppressing fire!
Like, if you'd done, like, through different clues and stuff, you could have gone to the, you could have found Conrad Den.
Yeah.
Who was, like, again, like, one of the handlers of the cult now, since he had to learn language.
Yeah.
Until he turned into ferrets. But you ran into the little gathering before
The heavies, yeah. Oops. All right, I mean,
but I like the idea of, like, okay, we have to deal with this, and then you're still under the thumb. Like, the cultists are still doing it, so, like, because the more people you kill, the more grateful they are to the god that saved them, even if you kill them, because they're now tainted.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the kill order inspiration in that one.
I did. I really liked it. Yeah. Did you anticipate that kind of reaction for the third episode during the disastrous, stakeout scene? Was that more of like
that was just luck that ended up happening?
All right, so the way I did God's Madness, the governmental
Or God's Eyes.
God's Eye. The way I did that is the governmental thing was that surveillance.
Yeah.
I forget what it was actually called, but it's something equally dystopian.
Yeah. Sky or Eye in the Sky.
Yeah, with the pictures every 1 second and ultra high resolution that can picture an entire city. So that was the governmental rip from the headline things. Real world awfulness was like narco gods, like narco cartel, like Santeria and shit, and the awful ways they murder people.
Santa Marta, Saint Death.
Yeah, and then the more governmental thing, the science thing was the surveillance. The more governmental thing was like Snowden's and Chelsea Manning's and like really disaffected, ingenious people that are like totally disenfranchised and disillusioned by the system, and they want to do something about it. And some of them know mythos magic because their uncle's a crazy pot sorcerer. So that was the sort of three thing there.
Weird predestiny thing again.
So the way I planned that out was I basically just got a Google Earth image of Reno and drew a crazy map on it, and then I put times as to like when things were going to happen and the murders. And the thing was like the thing you don't want to do is figure out the pattern, because then you're the observer. And then you go,
and that's unfortunately what the fuck I do.
And then you go bye-bye. So it had a quantum mechanics thing. You had to know what this... And then he's basically tracing a fourth dimensional sigil. Like it was across time and space. So...
it was a real interesting conundrum.
And I love going back to some of the worlds we explored before, like where the Fishers of Men came from.
Yeah. And then I just watched Sicario, so like I realized that like, okay, there's a thing in the sky that will transport you the second you understand it. There's no way to get through that. So the way to get through to the heart of the scenario is through the, psycho scary narco cartel enforcers like Santa. And hiding guys in drywall and burning people alive and shit like that.
Wasn't that the same one where we encountered the hounds?
Yes, because
I did a bad thing as a player. I kind of did. Okay, so my question one, like the stakeout, was that just kind of again? I mean, you had the chronology and you just kind of let things play out.
And my basic idea was like I forget his name.
Because you didn't intend for that to be like so. fatal,
but like they figured out the pattern, and then they arrived to where it was going to happen next, and the hit squad was there, and then everyone failed their awareness check and also fell asleep. So, like, there's a bunch of feds waiting outside in a SUV
All asleep.
while they're about to murder a guy, and they just, they're crazy narco cartel guys, so they don't know fear or sanity, so they just start offing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting. A lot of our campaigns we don't have it like the Brutalist, which is already done by this point. We didn't really have to worry too much about that except for guest players. But player fatalities in a campaign can be kind of dangerous or sudden, and they can also interrupt the narrative, especially
And slightly unexpected.
Yeah, because I would kind of ask you this. Did you have any plans for the team working group M? Had we all been together still? Was there some other fate that Bass would have had for us other than just eventual work until you've eaten as much as
You were just going to work till you died.
Okay.
Or until you got to God's Madness. So that was it. My basic plan was like, okay, replacement characters are now watching the death march of these guys.
Right.
Because Delta Green can get more use out of them sending out on jobs than just taking them behind the shed.
Yeah.
And granted, that
which is the alternative.
Yeah.
And then if you lost all the original members of Working Group M, well, you were in close contact with them. We can't really trust you.
Yeah.
So it bureaucratically just continues under its momentum until you're consumed.
So
Go ahead.
one other question I had about the scenario when you were running it, did you realize what I was doing when I was called for that guy to show up at the hotel, or did you just wait and wanted to see how I would play it out?
Yeah, I wanted to see how it played out.
Okay. Because I wasn't.
I like how you're like, you can get revenge as long as you die too. That's fine. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But the guy's basic plan was like, I will trace these dark signals, and the head of the program will understand it and be sucked into hell.
Yeah.
Like he gave to me without realizing, as the head of the program, he doesn't understand how the program works and just delegates it all to smart people.
Yeah.
But you fixed that.
Well, maybe I wouldn't have been acting so recklessly had two of my teammates been murdered.
Why?
Yeah.
Two of them got murdered, and I think I was rendered unconscious.
Yeah, you were not doing so well.
No, Caleb? What were your thoughts when all of that just played out? Were you just
I love the new firearms rules in Delta Green. I love that it was just like roll dead, dead, not like injured, bleeding out, not like hit multiple times, just fucking dead. Car skirts forward, Oak turns over, and then I love that I roll for Tom, and Tom's dead. just fucking dead.
But for a different reason, not for the gun.
Oh, no.
And the thing is, and I realized
I love that you were the only one who stayed awake, and you were just working on it. So even you were unaware, and then you have an epiphany, and then the driver's head explodes.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have planned. I mean, that was
Wait, you got out of the car too. That's what killed you.
Yeah. No, the car flipped.
The car. That's
and
right.
the window broke, and then it snapped the picture, and he died.
Yeah. What I love is that narrative, it would be incredibly hard to write a movie or a TV script like that.
He did get out of the car.
Or even to plan that as a role playing.
Yeah.
You want that finale to be right there. Yeah, it just kind of happened, and it was so dramatically satisfying.
Because I remember those of us were sitting here for a second going what just happened?
Which is exactly what Delta Green
Detweiler said it in Impossible Landscapes is yes, you are risking not getting through it. As our last session got a little dicey.
A little bit.
But he says the thing about Delta Green is that the stakes are real, and so every part of the story gets better. It's not, the GM is not allowed to have mercy, and they just do it. So if you make it, it's more satisfying. Even if you are.
And if you don't, oh well.
It's still pretty cool most of the time.
It's awesome.
So,
that entire time, even though everything always ended up going to shit, I just had this big grin on my face because it was so satisfying.
You were reveling in your madness.
Oh yes, I was reveling in all of it, to be honest.
By the end,
I did like how you went headfirst into crazy. That was good.
Well, I saw
What
an
was your
opportunity.
power at the beginning of the game? Wasn't it like 40 or something?
What?
No, your power
Score
by the
score?
end.
Yeah.
It was low.
It was real low. I,
think-
was
yeah,
like,
no, it
this
was
is going to
down.
be good.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't know what the stats meant. I was like, how?
Yeah. So how much like background of Lovecraft and Delta Green did you?
I had some background in Lovecraft.
Okay.
Like I've read many of the short stories, but certainly not as much as the rest of you.
Right.
I had zero background in Delta Green.
Actually, fast little confession.
Yeah.
I've only ever read 3 Lovecraft stories
Whoa.
in their entirety.
Oh my god.
Almost everything that I know about the mythos and everything I know about.
Osmosis through these guys.
Yeah, it's learned through osmosis and learned through tabletop.
Well, you
games.
also read The Laundry.
Yeah.
You've read several.
Yeah, I have read The Laundry.
And honestly, if you read any 3 Lovecraft stories, you get
You've read them all.
You get the idea. I mean, there's some. I mean, you know, if you're a completionist, if you want to get that
Yeah.
Chivo, that's fine.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
there's also
find
other
the
authors
real
too.
crazy racism and
Yeah.
fear of sex.
But there's
Dig
also other
deep.
authors who built it off their like Cutner as well.
Not even that
So-
deep.
Yeah, not even that deep.
Yeah, we'll be doing a panel on neo Lovecraftian horror at Gen Con this year.
Whoa, go see it.
Yeah.
This week. This week. Well, next week.
Listen to our panel. Buy my book. I'm sorry. That was.
It's an involuntary reaction.
Yeah, at this point. So then, of course, we went into God's Breath, which felt like
And I think-
if this was a TV show, this would be like a mid-season thing. Like it felt like, or like a standard like job of the week kind of thing. But this shit got so much more real because it turned into this huge.
I think I missed the first episode of that.
Yeah,
You did.
This is the one in
And
Colorado.
that was also one where we ran into a lot of accountancy.
No!
Yeah,
No!
There was a ton of accountancy to do.
Damn it. Yeah.
There was. I did have like.
I blame the
full-blown
rate on you
experiment.
for not doing enough
Oh my
accounting.
god! I'm so sad. Maybe Dom would have had a better fate if he got to do all that accounting.
No, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
He would
So
have been saner for
that was
few
also based on
seconds longer.
Countdown,
Yeah.
Tiger Transit.
Yeah. What happens to that? Yeah, Tiger Transit is a Chocho faction in Countdown in the late '90s, and so what happens to them in the here and now is because you posited that Delta Green would shut them down,
Yes.
the original form of it.
Yeah. Because like I posited that because like there's all that talk about like them smuggling antiquities from the Middle East, and okay, once we start
That fits
2
right
to
in.
3 bush wars over there, like running illegal flights out of the Middle East is going to be a lot harder to do. And so there's that. But the Tiger Transit thing, I mainly want to do is like, I always like the idea of like mixing the drug trade with the mythos. And they always did that. And I'm like, well, how much more complicated would it be if you did it nowadays? Because first off, the Chocho, real problematic.
Yeah.
Real problematic in the world of Lovecraft because it's basically just his blatant racism show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that saves it is the fact that they are just evil and like it's not everybody else in the country. It's not like all Vietnamese people or anybody from Cambodia is evil. It's just this single tribe and they are crazy.
Right.
So what I wanted to do is like, okay, how do you deal with it if the drug they're selling is legal, and not only legal, but the most regulated substance like possible? Because I did a bunch of research on that, and like the drug laws are insane. It's also the Wild West because you can only use cash because it's still illegal federally. So people are rolling through the streets of Denver in SUVs with millions of dollar bricks of cash and guys with Kalashnikovs. So that's real Delta Green. And then what about like the ethnic angle that you're like, okay, this crazy old lady who you went to the house is urging you to cleanse them all. Like, that's was problematic in the 90s when we were doing it the Cowboy Day. You can't do that now. Like, so like one avenue you guys never invested because you never had an accountant was like,
Damn it!
they had a whole anti-defamation lawyer ready to destroy your ass. like if you went through any kind of like legal means to shut them down, they had this huge, like they were going to be making money off Delta Green. with this enormous anti-Semitism, like because you're targeting my people because they're of a specific ethnicity. Oh wow, you just went out and said it, huh? Like that's so it's very much going to be like the rip from the headline sort of police abuse thing, and then how you do that with a regulatory, and then like the Dark Eldritch thing was like they're fucking chochos, they're awful.
I'm trying to fight the mythos here. I don't got time to fight lawyers.
They're sex trafficking murder cannibals. Like,
I hate to tell you this, Tom, but they're one and the same.
Yeah.
So you missed on all the accounting. That's
I had like an 80 in accounting.
Yeah, that's the problem with sometimes GM, and you're like, oh, I want to make sure that the accountant has something to do. Aha! Well, this player can't make it that week.
Well, this is still the operate heavy machinery problem.
It is. It really fucking is. God.
Because that was the first appearance of Lydia too.
Oh yeah.
True. Yeah. Well, two replacement characters.
Yeah,
like Tom
3.
Sean brought in his first character, which was the cartel killer. So you're shaking your head there. You improved the character, though.
Oh, what's the point of not?
Yeah. Okay.
West Mississippi, Chicago.
Yeah. All right.
Law enforcement, astrophysicist. I'll be a doctor. I'll be a barista. If I just say more things, it's just more things you're not gonna do. So why? No, sure, that's fine. He's a bike messenger against the mythos.
So you're saying you want me to be a bike messenger or a barista for your next?
I think I got my next character.
So we can do that Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, but he's racing against
So Sean's first character wasn't totally working out.
Sean admitted it too.
Yeah, that's why he changed it. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
I mean, I couldn't really stop him. Like, it's his character, but like, you did just stop a cartel death cult, and he was like, "What are you in for?" I'm a member of a cartel death cult. Like, oh. Great.
So that's why you use me and I'm your chaperone.
Yeah.
And I'm a Delta. I'm an Army.
Well, didn't give Tom a really good reason too. Yeah.
It did give Tom a reason to be a murder hobo.
Yeah.
Since they were wheeling in Sean like Hannibal Lecter.
Did that happen?
No.
It wasn't that bad.
It might as well.
Yeah, so Aaron, for your replacement character, where you like, I want to make it better, or I don't know, like.
Lydia. One, since again I was doing the more. My first character was just the by the books agents, and then of course turned into McCripply. I will see my end. I went ahead and decided that this one, I forgot if you would explain this to me before or after, but that I was going to be kind of the person called in for oversight.
I think Caleb,
I made a suggestion of something to do, and you listened, and thank you.
You're welcome. So you're welcome. Anyway, but no, he had talked about oversight. So considering the fact that we had nobody to possibly bring back, recover any kind of sanity or at least stabilize to that point in time, I brought in a FBI profiler, which had a lot of psychology on there to be able to go ahead and help with that too, and also to see if under the general instruction to say, can you keep an eye on them and report back on anything weird? If one of them's starting to turn or talk about red thoughts, eating people, let us know.
That's something I want to put a thumbtack in once we get to Sean's second character.
Okay.
Which kind of
because he was also an observer.
So, that's what the part I would do it. Also, I'm just the one mention on there too, because I thought it was funny when it happened in the comments section too. But I just decided to make it as a character note. Go ahead, make her a lesbian and have her married. I thought, okay, and it was just one quote on there when I think. And apparently somebody thought I was being sassy. I don't get the trope, but...
we really do appreciate all the comments and discussion on the...
Except yours. You know who you are.
No, we do.
Which I understand. I don't want to say, I was never intending ever to play a trope.
If you do have critiques, feel free to post them. We've been really fortunate that our community's been really... that trigger warning thing was... by internet standards, very mild.
Yeah. And I think well-intentioned, but
but sometimes we don't always understand or agree with your comments. So we do talk about you guys.
Yeah, but I'll say, just to kind of clarify thing, I was not ever thinking of a trope. It was just literally a character moment where I thought, like, let's give her a wife instead, because I thought when we ever did any of the interactions, the vignettes when we got to recover sanity, I thought it would be an interesting play to do. That would
the vignettes are really good because I remember, like, for example,
they're very good at keeping the tone.
Yes, because they're right at the end.
Love.
It's a framing because, like, I really love like the contrast also in between them. Like, Kamarov's were goddamn fucking heartwarming compared to the rest of ours.
I think most of mine were me drinking alone.
Well, except for that last one.
Well, what was the lie? Was that the one you finally failed at?
Yeah, that was the one that I failed where it's...
Boys, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that I threw enough humor in there with Pop-Up, the indestructible old man. It's Grandpa. He's going to outlive us all, and he probably is. He might even be my next Delta Green character. I don't know.
120-year-old Kamarov still kicking.
No, Kamarov the second.
Kamarov the second.
No, Kamarov the first.
Oh, okay.
It's an essential salts.
I really love, like, again, for and it also brought up the related mechanic. Like, for one thing, I know Provost, the reason why he was able to last, like, if I did not dump a lot of sand loss into
hated your ex.
No, it wasn't my
it's coworkers.
Coworkers, that's right.
It was fuck those guys.
Right.
That's why I put a raccoon corpse in their office. It was not my ex-wife, but that's why he lasted a lot longer. Or, like, I think I don't know if I would have gone to zero sand, but I certainly would have picked up a lot more permanent disorders if I had not dumped. Like, it's ablative sand protection. You need to do it. Like, it's protecting them because once you alienate
yourself with more loved ones.
Yeah. once they hate you and get away, they won't be hurt when your character's inevitably killed in a fate worse than death.
So, like, also by this point, an idea of the campaign's trajectory. And since I'd already sort of like...
a downward.
Well, actually upward, because up a food chain. So, like, I sort of had the idea of Bast as part of this mythos ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can prey on, like, you know, bitch-ass dark young Tulkith. Like, that's
sorcerers.
And sorcerers, like, that's Bast's food, or, like, they're fine with that. And Shocho are just as good. But then that was... And during that session, Bast was in heat. So that's how you met her lover,
right.
Nyarlathotep.
That's when it happened.
That's when
Royce got licked.
Yeah. That's
when I'm like all the really weird imagery in your head popping up and started to do that. And that's when the hunger got really bad. And then from there, you just kept moving up the food chain.
Yeah.
So, like...
well, except for that one. God's legs.
Well, we'll talk about that.
That's later, though.
Yeah, that's the next episode. Well, yeah, because during the raid, I meet Nyarlathotep, and I lose enough sand that I'm like, yep, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to that firefight.
Yeah.
Well, you just start opening fire in the darkness.
Oh, yeah, no, I tried to kill Nyarlathotep with a machine gun, which was probably not the best.
I put him in a biker helmet.
Yeah,
I thought you'd love him.
I was just going to say.
He was like Jacket from Hotline.
I love your depiction. He was just like this dude in a leather jacket with a biker helmet. Like, what up?
Because he kind of bloody tongued you. So.
Yeah, no, he did, and that's why I was like, fetal position. Yep,
no.
I also wanted to do, like, the alien thing, and I think my favorite part of God's Breath was, like, I give you all of these... like resources. I give you people to command because you've done further stuff.
Yeah.
And like I go out of my way to give them like names and distinguishing facial characteristics.
Well, we had like a couple scenes whenever is this whenever you gave us the SWAT
we did the undercover roll.
And then and then you guys are just talking about like, all right, we'll put you in there, and then if you get eaten, we'll go back and report. And like the head of the SWAT team's like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go for a plan where your intention is see if we die and then reconsider.
Get in there, Rich.
Like, you just start talking to them like they're like personality-less red shirts, and I'm like, fuck no, we're not doing that. And I also enjoyed that thing. I'm like, I'm standing out all these motherfuckers. I am not letting you just throw them away willy-nilly. You're gonna have to lie to a motherfucker to feed him to a sorcerer.
Well, and it failed.
Yeah.
It failed.
Miserably.
We ended up having to go...
Because we didn't really think that the sorcerer would try and use magic to kill someone in a public street. So
We were wrong.
That was our
we were
bad.
very
Hey, you know what doesn't show up on forensics?
Yeah.
Fucking magic. If you wither out of nowhere, you're gonna have difficult finding the murder weapon.
I just have to point out that yes, it does show up on forensics. See,
died in spontaneous
cat scans.
dehydration.
Yeah.
All the cat scans. It's there. You just have to look deep.
My favorite thing about Kamarov was he found out the physical effect of one aspect of one mythos magic, and he thought everyone. It happened that way for everybody for everything, which was really good, not metagaming.
Yeah.
Oh no, CTE. That's how you know.
It wasn't always the CTE. That's how you know it was. All right. Now that I know that it's a symptom, I'm going to look for it every time.
Yeah.
Because if somebody seems like they've been brain fuckled, let's see if it shows up on the brain fuckle.
And then you guys are starting murdering pot smokers. Did you succumb and kill the lady?
Are you talking about the undercover, or are you talking about
God's breath is when you started getting the hunger.
Oh
pangs.
yeah, we met the victim who had been brain fuckled, and we wanted to kill her, but that's
you
when
kept-
Provost was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was really cool because it made Provost go, a character, we're these haunted, tragic characters who are hunting, but we're badasses, to being oh god, we're just shaking victims, who are barely clinging together.
And I didn't want. I wanted your one spell power to be sort of a Mythos Geiger counter, but as a Geiger counter, you can find the source of radiation or anything that was near the source of radiation, and not being able to tell the difference was the
and even when we do, it doesn't necessarily help. Because we met that one Chocho at the depository for weed, and he was like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah, and you're just
All nice.
Oh god. Yeah, we considered hunting him down and killing him at his house.
He was the aide to the defamation lawyer.
Yeah.
So that would have.
I never felt more useful than
if we
that
were
raid.
caught.
If we were caught.
Yeah.
Made
him disappear.
Let's be honest, we weren't being that subtle.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the raid went well.
I felt okay, all right, I'm actually good here. Yeah, it's a good old fashioned raid. Probably no monsters in here.
Just shooting people. And people, it was a lot better than the cabin.
It's like a day on the farm.
God, the cabin was really messed up, though.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
That's where I was. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
where we
right. I saved Lydia's life. I don't know why she hated me so much.
Well, okay, no, because
She could tell you were kind of
you were you were already cracking under the strain, and she was worrying. Plus, also, she had gone through a couple of.
That would have been Dom's death if. Because your original plan was just fuck him, walk to the road.
Yeah, I was done.
You weren't even going to do anything.
Yeah, you're right. It's
And that's the only thing that saved your life because David was beating you to death.
with my fist.
Yeah. In a blood-filled crater.
I didn't die. My second guy didn't die, did he?
He did at the end.
He did at the end. That's
Everyone did not. No one survived.
You killed me at the end, but that's for later.
God's Madness, we're getting close to the end, though, because then after the raid, there is God's legs.
I hope so.
Right. That one was...
So that
Who did you
was
got?
So you moved from a predator-prey relationship to a mating relationship to a predator-predator relationship.
Yeah.
So this is the
The spider.
bear-gator fight or whatever you want to.
Well, it was. I think what really sold me on that session was the note passing.
Yeah.
That's what did it for me.
God.
Yeah,
Like,
all the
Paranoia.
notes.
yeah, everybody immediately didn't trust each other.
So yeah, the technology thing in that one was spoofing.
Yeah.
And if you can handle trans-dimensional geometry or whatever, you could probably send a text. The real world thing was
The short story?
the Lisa whatever murder, the woman who went up the in the LA hotel that went up the hotel looking very scared, left the hotel, disappeared for like 4 weeks, and then they found her in a water tower, and there's no evidence and no idea how it happened.
And that's what the hotel owner did.
So that was the sort of real world inspiration, and then the sort of occult supernatural thing was just pulling directly from Hans Heinz Ever's The Spider Story,
which I think I linked to in the show notes.
Yes. So that's where Claramonda came from.
Claramonda.
And hanging yourself from the curtain rod and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Something I thought was funny is how you kept comparing Claramonda's human form to like the manic pixie YouTuber. I just thought that was hilarious. I don't know why.
So the basic premise of that is that if you're in the room, you see Claramonda. And then anything that goes outside the room shows that something's like real fucking off. And it gets worse and worse the longer you're inside the room. So like if you take footage at a certain day, it's just a black room, whereas the person inside remembers seeing this girl in there. And if you take audio, it's just static, whereas you remember seeing or hearing conversations over the phone and all that kind of stuff. And then your notes get weirder and weirder as the day goes on.
And you lose time.
Yeah, you lose the time. So basically the premise was Claramonda was using every means of communication humans use to get you inside the room.
Yeah.
And then when you were inside the room, your choice was kill yourself or come over and see Claramonda, which is what Pizzarelli did, much to his chagrin.
He got eight.
Yeah.
Forever.
We barely managed to avoid death, but we certainly didn't kill it or hurt it or drive it off.
We had a rather close brush with death at that.
Yeah. Because we almost went in the room. Well, we
two
almost
of you went over to the other apartment building.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out which apartment it was, and
we got
figured
the wrong
it out.
apartment, right? We didn't.
We had narrowed it down to
No, I think we did.
one of two.
And then they walked out.
And then you guys were getting ready to pick the lock.
Right.
And then left. And had you picked the lock,
what would have happened?
All right, so you pick the lock, you open it. It's like this black room, and it looks like it's strung with like bass guitar cables, basically really thick wires. So you go inside. Now, if you leave the door open, some aspect of reality still affects on it, but you realize you're not walking on a floor and that the lines go endlessly in every direction.
I remember you mentioned that.
And then you get to fight at La Nacha if you go inside and you leave the door open, which would not have been fun. If you walked inside and closed the door, you're just in La Nacha's world now, so you fall into the web endlessly until you get caught.
Which is a avatar of Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
A spider avatar.
So was it an avatar of Nyarlathotep?
I don't know. It was a spider that wanted to eat you.
Okay. I was just wondering.
So there's no real way to kill it outside of like trying to Rambo.
You could have like shot your way enough to like get back to the door, but if the door closed, it was TPK for anybody inside.
Was there any saving Pizzarelli?
No, God, no. He was real dead. He wished he was real dead.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
He was dead before we even got started. So.
Just let me throw a barrel at it.
So it was basically multiple versions of like people are going up this hotel elevator looking really agitated on camera, and then they leave, and then they never are seen again.
And this is all a setup to get us to investigate it.
Yes.
It's making an occult crime to solve.
Yeah, all the people that died before were the web.
Yeah.
Metaphorically to lead you to the web.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, and now pulling out that thumbtack. This is where Sean's second character gets introduced, right?
Yeah.
And he's given the quote-unquote gun. The cell phone to call if he ever thinks that all of us need to die.
Yes, because you're getting all more and more twitchy.
Yeah. I was wondering, when did you think to introduce that? Because Lydia, as like the psychiatrist and the one who's supposed to keep an eye on us, seems like it would have been a good fit.
Well, the problem was that after God's breath, though, she had a crack of her own. She was because of the witnessing the entire blow by blow from
Did she see the Dark Young?
I don't think she saw the Dark Young, but she was seeing.
She saw the house explode.
Yeah, the house explode, the fight, and knowing the.
She saw the symbols that Aiden was drawing as he was being beaten to death.
That's true.
So it was just enough on there because she had only had that middling brush with the unusual. It really took her down the wrong road. So I was just headcanoning at that point that the office was pretty much saying, no, you're again getting too close to this, or we're going to tell you your job is still to keep an eye on them, but here's the other observer for you now.
Yeah, and we need another layer of protection.
Exactly. So,
and then after that, after God's leg, I figure with God's legs, I figure okay, well they're either a bunch of people are going to die, there's going to be no resolution, or they're just going to leave and there's going to be no resolution. And they're also acting really weird and paranoid, so that would not help that.
Yeah.
And then that was basically my idea for new characters. Like if you get installed, you're now a mole or a handler or something.
Yeah.
To deal with the
crazies,
the on-duty cultists.
Yeah.
But you're tainted.
Yeah.
Delta Green doesn't know how Bast works.
Yeah.
So they're just
you can't trust him.
Yeah, you done fucked up. You get Working Group in.
Yeah. Which is still better than Life Coach.
We gotta post those games.
We will. That's another reference to the Companions game, which I
was watching a lot of Hannibal back then. Got a little out of hand.
New Hannibal?
Yeah.
Canceled Hannibal also.
And our vignettes were getting darker, but still getting worse, I think. And then finally, of course, we get into God's Madness, the finale, which was a long scenario.
I remember you prefaced this one before we played with this is gonna be something else.
I'm still worried about that one because it hasn't been posted to real people yet. But that one's the rip from the headline thing. So there's a mass shooting or killing. Twice a week now. Of some sort, and it's fucking scary as shit.
Something that's kind of maybe a little too real is at the time it wasn't as bad as it is now.
Yeah, it was too real at the time, and now it's gotten worse. Which is why it took some convincing for me to even post this one. So I wanted to do for me the only failing of Lovecraft, blasphemy. The only failing of Lovecraft for me is that I think he leaves a lot on the table in terms of horror of the human condition. By sort of making us so small and insignificant. That is cosmic horror. It's very true, but if you're small and insignificant and self-destructive and full of stupid members and basic human cruelty. Which is a lot of what I think he was trying to process in modernity in his writing. Which is why it's not in there explicitly. I think that makes it worse. So that's why when I run Lovecraft, traditionally it's in the 1930s. Shit's awful. You're doomed from space, and you're poor.
Boiled steaks for everybody.
So I wanted to add that in there, but at the same time, I didn't want to do it's the mythos' fault. I didn't want to do the World of Darkness things. The Holocaust was caused by vampires.
It's actually, they specifically say the Holocaust is not caused by vampires.
Get it right.
Yeah. There are Nazi vampires, though, that you are in, but they didn't cause it.
Participate in the Holocaust?
They participate, but they weren't the leadership.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. World of Darkness is a great game.
So can we get that cut out from this episode, Ross?
Yeah, no flaws at all.
Just for the next 2 months.
That quote alone. There you go. That's the episode. Excerpt.
Could that be the episode title?
That's why I couldn't be a politician. I'm too sarcastic. They were really easy to soundbite. But that's the sort of thing. So I wanted to do that. So sociology-wise, I wanted to do the filter effect.
Yeah.
And then back to the quantum mechanics thing. Then I wanted to do observer effect. So I don't know if I explained it in there. I don't know if I explained how it worked.
Yeah.
Especially at the end, because there is kind of a wrap up, explaining the whole.
Yeah. So basically, you see the yellow sign in the program that's running it. The longer the program runs, the bigger your effect field gets, and that's where an astrophysicist, because I had a ton of weird exotic radiation cues. You could have built the thing to know when you walked through, but you were in space.
I know I was at the bottom of the Pacific.
Well, assuming that's where it really is.
Yeah.
You're on an ocean, some planet.
Yeah. So there's that. So basically, you run it, and if it's running on your machine, you are a user, and as that happens, your confirmation bias becomes a tool for selecting realities.
Yeah.
So as you move through your day and your confirmation biasing in, Yog-Sothoth or whatever is shuffling you around the multiverse to find the world you best fit in. And that's horrible because it's doing it for everything. It's conversion bias, like your prejudices and your hatreds and stuff like that, and it's shuffling you into your nightmare world. If you see
what you think is real, not what you think should be or what you want it to be.
It's not your desired reality.
It's not your desired reality. It's
your feared reality.
Yeah, it's or both. One becomes the other. So that's what happens to a user. Users don't disappear. They're still in the reality, as far as everyone knows. So that's how you get the Delta Green guy who works on an empty floor and has done so for months. Because he thinks everybody's, they're just busy with their own stuff when they've in fact gone bye-bye into Picky Eater. And then if you've seen it, but you're not running it, you can be an observer. So users and extras, which are people who haven't seen it, never interact because the user goes in a different world. Different users never interact because when their little fields overlap, they cancel out and become base reality. But observers, when they're in the field of effect, can see the different world. And then the sort of explanation for it is that the people are insane and they are bad people most of the time. But when your copy of Picky Eater burns out, you live in a reality that makes no sense to you anymore because of the time dilation. Like you live in literally a different reality or world than everybody else. And then the way I wanted to complicate it and make it put in headline is like you have no way of knowing if a Picky Eater user that goes nuts and does something out of the news, you don't know if their app stopped working and they came back to base reality and went crazy, or if they were in a different world and their app worked and you're their hell reality. And they went nuts there. So that was the sort of
something I thought was
thematic
really,
commentary I was trying to make.
Like, in addition to that being a really good, I guess, horror element, what even bigger than that, what really struck me as interesting was the fact that it was implied that we weren't the base reality. Like, ours, we had no proof that this is where everything came from. It was just, it's all out there. Maybe this is somebody's Picky Eater. Maybe this is a base reality.
You're implying that there is a base reality.
Well, yeah. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I wanted to be like, okay, all these mass shooting, killing stuff, like, I think it's pretty safe to say that they don't live in the same world as us when they make those decisions. I don't think the internet helps that. Stuff with ISIS and stuff like that. But then, like, the terrifying fact of it is, like, no one can agree on where they got off the path.
Yeah.
Like, you can agree that, like, murdering everyone's bad, but, like, if you want to do the news thing and trace the person's whole life, no one can say, well, like, here's where it happened.
Yeah, and
it's like somebody was, like, a good person and then they were a bomber. Or somebody was a good person and then they were a serial killer. And, like, that's sort of the thing I wanted to
Is it something that, or is it a combination of factors and there's no way to tell?
And then the campaign thing, like, the one I wanted to do with the ecosystem is like, okay, you've moved from predator-prey to mating to prey-predator, and now you're, like, animal versus sentience. So, like, that's the Yellow King Carcosa. Like, oh, cute little bass kitty. Like, and that's why, like, you can't even fathom what's happening. Like, you've just elevated so long along the timeline that, like, you no longer, even Bass is out of, like,
Vogue.
Even Bass is out of her element, and
it's as alien to it as we are to any of this thing. So, like, you can even make. So if Bassy's the king of yellow, it has to make a sand check just like we do.
So it got real. Like roadside picnic. Like,
she's still explicitly female.
Yeah, you got real roadside. Yeah, you got real roadside picnic because it's like you don't know why it happened or what reality was, or if you were in real reality, or if someone else's version of Picky Eater are like how many removed, and that's how I ended it. So
does everyone feel like their character had a good ending? Or dramatically satisfying.
Oh yes.
Okay.
I was quite happy.
Let's see. Dom went out in a blaze of bullets.
Dom?
Yeah.
Aiden went out in a blaze of bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dom ceased to
Dom was
exist.
gone.
Dom was gone. So I think, did Tom's character shoot you? Yeah.
I offered Tom the opportunity to kill the gods.
Oh,
and then Tom was like, no.
Aiden was trying to reenact the ritual that at the orphanage, essentially.
Yes. Aiden was trying to make a world where Bast ruled.
And Tom's
Basically.
character, basically, Sean's character hit the panic button, and Tom's character killed all of them.
And me.
And me, and you, and then died. So Tom...
How did I die again?
You were shot to death. But,
That's right.
Yeah, you had a big shootout, off-screen shootout. That was a good touch.
Yeah.
And then, so you saved us from being shot by the death squad.
Yeah.
You're welcome,
Yeah.
guys. I just don't think you're welcome really says it.
Yeah.
So Sean and Kamarov drove off.
Yeah, I know that. Let's see. Lydia got killed.
You
By
escaped.
Santa.
You went through
and-
Carcosa
yeah.
with
Lydia.
Provost.
Yeah.
Lydia got out, but ran into Santa, who was running your kill squad.
Yeah, so
And then Provost is still on the hunt.
Still in Carcosa, transformed into a thing. So what happened to Kamarov at the very end?
Kamarov ended up grabbing all of his assets that he could, everything that was liquid, and then going to Arizona and RVing for the rest of his days.
All right, and became a serial killer.
Yeah.
I remember that now because they had to keep
Basically,
eating.
Yeah.
yeah,
he
had
becomes
to-
the target of a future operation.
Yeah.
Well, it's either the target of a future operation or he's giving the quick little good death to the victims. Because at this point, since he's getting old and frail himself, the only ones that he can actually take out are the ones that really want to die.
Or don't know that. Yeah, or he thinks that. But yeah, like
talk to
that
them.
poor. Probably this is a poor woman in Colorado.
oh god.
Yeah, she's easy. Yeah. So.
Oh, no.
So hey,
Monsters all around.
Fun of possum.
So yeah, I'm sorry if that touched a little too close to home,
Yeah.
guys. I just,
well, I think the thing is,
I think if you're gonna write a horror scenario, you need to write about stuff that genuinely scares you.
yeah.
You can sublimate it or change it, or you can make it closer to reality. But if it's just like vampires, like it's not gonna be as scary
Sparkly
as you want it to
vampires.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it has
Once the vampires are vampires and they stop representing like sexuality or
plague.
plague or something like that, then they're just
Things.
stake them. Like
Then they're cool and you want to be them.
So I
Fang superheroes.
might have gone too far, and if I did, I apologize.
I think you made it clear that it wasn't like the initial shooter was
This was not a campy,
reprehensible
happy-
reality.
It was not happy. And it
Yeah,
was
this
not
was
done
not
to
a-
endorse.
Yeah,
it.
I wanted to bring
campaign.
human awfulness in there with the mythos without not in any way negating human awfulness.
Yeah.
So like it's still people's fault.
I also like that you didn't elevate human awfulness to like, ooh, it's also the mythos. Like, it was just people being awful.
Big
Yeah.
Eater don't give a shit. It's
Yeah.
just Carcosa. Like
Yeah.
that's the landscape of Carcosa. You are the landscape of Carcosa.
Absolutely, yeah. It was just magnifying that ugliness. So
Yeah.
I think
it was
well hand in hand.
I think it was an excellent ending to a Delta Green campaign.
Yeah.
And the only every Delta Green campaign should have that not necessarily like a TPK or something like that, but like no character winds up living a happy life.
Yeah.
Like at best they are a broken person hiding, hoping that they can die of old age, or maybe they So
And I mean, we talked a little bit about this when we talked about red markets.
Yeah.
And but like the thing I liked about the campaign is because like I think fatalism, especially with Cthulhu stuff, is still ultimately escapist because like I could still, especially in the case
You walk away from it.
I can still, especially in the last scenario, ascribe some sort of logic
Yeah.
to something in the real world which has no
yeah.
logic whatsoever. So it's sort of a symbolic resolution you can get out of some, deeper existential stuff that will remain forever unresolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the campaign too.
Yeah.
You guys
Oh, yeah.
did a great job.
Thank you. You did an
No,
amazing
no,
job.
Oh yeah, definitely. Except for the dying.
okay,
That's a highlight.
This is Delta
Because these
Green.
were really memorable deaths. These were and they
awesome.
impacted the survivors.
I mean, folded in half.
Yeah.
They were.
That wasn't even the death, though. It was the whole. I mean, that was
worse
No,
than
one
the
thing I know,
death.
but I just love, especially the shells. I just love that. Like even as he knows, like if if this thing doesn't see me, I'm going to die in this car when it crashes back down.
Yeah, Shell was checkmated.
That's sort of like, is it going to see me? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, what were your favorite moments? Was that one of your favorite moments?
Oh yeah, no, it's obvious that the loss of a character, if it's awesome, can be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you died as a result of physics.
I did what my character would do, and that's
Astrophysics happened to you. Like that's not too many astrophysicists have that kind of epitaph.
Sometimes you stare at the stars, and sometimes they stare.
It's like
back.
the last thought is, damn, I could have published this.
Yeah, or that would be bad for humanity if I did. What were some of your favorite moments of the campaign?
I really loved any time I got to switch off.
I remember in episode 6, I'm following your character and trying to talk to him when I realized
that it's not Tom.
I'm like, no, that's a school bus. What the fuck is going on?
I really like that. I really like
It's
that.
not just a school bus. It was a school bus full of special needs children.
It was really
which
horrific.
makes it even darker.
And I'm glad I didn't have to shoot your character in the streets.
One of my favorite moments was whenever
got to shoot him on a roof in an alternate reality.
That was his character.
That was one of my favorite moments is whenever Aiden offered Provost the opportunity to go with. And Provost realized that some part of him deep down wanted it.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
and then you ultimately made that choice.
Yeah.
When it was just me, though.
You still made the choice.
Because I still had some sanity left. So I will dive onto that sword. I'm not going to send anybody else onto it. Aaron.
Let's see. For original agent, just because I like.
Not even necessarily about your character, like other things that you just like.
One of the things I really did like to actually going back to. The hotel too is just that weird time dilation aspect too. Even when we were trying to figure out like this demented puzzle box, going, okay, we keep the door open, we keep the string open, you keep an eye on me. Shit, it's not working.
It's kind of a risk as a GM to run a scenario like that where it's just like, here's this thing, go poke it. Because then if the players decide not to poke it, well, that's
if I ever published it, it'd be real tricky to write it up.
Yeah,
but, the way to do it is just like the longer you stay out of the room, the more Claramonda is going to ruin your life, like through email and you're basically being blackmailed by a Mythos entity. So.
Just like my honeymoon,
which works out pretty well. No, that was one of the more enjoyable experiences of the game that I absolutely loved. But I also get a kick out of what would look like haunted house scenarios that it's that mystery that you're trying to unravel.
Well, in that case, I don't want to say haunted house as much as it was a major catch-22. Delta Green never communicates electronically. They never communicate via text or email. And we're going through all of this via text and email because our handler, who is normally the person who communicates with us, has disappeared. And because we are somewhat persona non grata, we don't know who we're supposed to talk to other than our handler. So that was a brilliant bit right there.
Whoa. No one said espionage would get paranoid.
Yeah.
No one's mentioned that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Delta Green, I don't know, I haven't read the entire agent handbook yet, but they don't, specify the protocols too much, so game masters have that kind of freedom to say, like, Delta Green does this, and I do that. Like, if someone else's Delta Green, maybe they only talk through email or encrypted messages or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, if you ever wrote up the God's Legs, I would suggesting to the GM running it that you encourage note passing. Because I think that was a huge part of that section.
I think God's Lake, out of all the scenarios, would be the one that you could at least run as a one-shot. This would be great in any number of campaigns.
Because the more information you have on the players to work with, the more you can fuck with them.
Well, the more they have a relationship. If everyone's entering it's a cold pre-gen character.
Yeah, nobody cares. It's going to be murder hobo.
You'd be like, alright, I go in. Alright, I'm dead. Big deal. But if it's like, you're 4 sessions in and you're attached to your poor forensic accountant because it's like you're sitting I got a good feeling about him. Little buddy's gonna make it. He's gonna get all the way. He's gonna retire. He's gonna have
What's this web dimension? Oh shit!
Yeah, it's not a. It's
the stakes aren't high enough.
It's no mass Nyarlathotep. It's definitely a linear progression.
Yeah.
In the way I manage.
But like this would be the kind of scenario you could fit into another campaign. Like if you were doing something else. This would be like, okay, we're taking a break. We're going to do this week.
I think they all kind of work as one-shots.
They do.
But I think together they only work in a certain order. Because they are kind of nailed together out of things that were disparately imagined.
But it really does, the way that, again, the progression of this kind of, like Final Revelation, too. It's, even though it seems scattered, it becomes greater than some of its parts once you finally put it.
But yeah, you can go like God's Teeth, God's Madness, because that'd be a real fucking short campaign.
Yeah.
Definitely God's Madness has to be the finale.
Yeah.
David, what were some of your favorite moments of the campaign?
Well, pretty much anything to do with Claramonda. I really love that particular session. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed in any game is a situation where a player finds himself kind of going, all right, I'm going to try this. It is dumb as hell. But if it works, holy shit, this is going to be it's the thing where they do something that somebody or nobody else at the table actually sees coming. And Faust had like 10 moments like that. And every single one of them, I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going.
Oh, he's doing that now. Okay.
Well, are you talking about just the results of him like failing sand checks, or were there other
Well, yeah. Any time that he went further down that rabbit hole, let's see where this is going. I have to say though that I think my favorite Kamarov moment was the Dark Young, and that was the
You were beating me to death?
no before that. Where it's, all right, I am about to get devoured by a Dark Young. Hey, there's a grenade launcher. Well, if I'm going to go out...
Now, from what I remember that scene, that was also interesting because of how it oscillated between, like, we got this, we don't got this, we got this, we don't got this. Like, it's like the Dark Young was, like, the finale. Like, there was a lot of build-up before them because there were a couple of cultists... I think, well, there was at least the old man sorcerer there.
Yeah.
And there was a hostage, and it looked at one point that you would be able to kill the bad guys and rescue the hostage, and then that fucking Dark Young shows
And then it was, the trees are moving. Yeah. We're like, I wonder what that means.
And then we killed the sorcerer, we got to the hostages, are you okay?
Yeah.
And then the hostage got ripped out through the window?
Oh yeah.
I think,
yeah, like, that's what I mean. It oscillated so wildly, like, oh god, we're approaching, oh god, he's a scary sorcerer, oh god, and then we kill, and then, like, it was swinging wildly back and forth.
Basically, the Dark Young, I set it up as, like, kill one person per round.
Yeah.
And, like, the other people in the house was as much time as you had to figure out what to do.
That's actually kind of how they are.
Yeah, I wasn't rolling it. I was just like, all right, he's dead now. And you're dead.
That's the nice
running out of time.
No, they're one of the heavy hitters. And, the original Call of Cthulhu is, I think their damage bonus is like plus 5d6.
It's like a mouth with legs, right?
And arms. It is the size of a tree.
Yeah.
So their damage bonus is like plus 5d6. And again, Call of Cthulhu characters have like 10 hit points.
Yeah.
So they one shot pretty much anyone they can hit. And they're heavily immune or resistant.
I had another one shot I wanted to work in, but I couldn't figure out how to figure it in because I have a Cthulhu scenario.
Cthulhu?
He's the fire god.
For smoke jumpers.
Oh yeah.
So
have you read this Fire Shall Burn or it's from it's a Call of Cthulhu anthology about a cult of firefighters who worship Cthulhu in San Francisco.
Oh no, I haven't read it.
I've actually run it before.
I just did a bunch of research on smoke jumping, and I figured like. Basically, you were going to smoke jump in and just start getting your ass murdered by fire vampires. And as you run away, you realize Cthulhu was summoned because it's a dark spawn wood, and so you're just fucked.
Yeah.
But I couldn't figure out how to forensic accountant, go! Astrophysicist, go! Elderly medical examiner, go! I couldn't figure out how to get you guys on the team, the smoke jumper team. So I left that.
Never underestimate the power of the elderly. Jimmy Stewart said that once.
Lady psychologist, go! Why am I here?
We're gonna see if I can use astrophysics to fight fires.
Yeah.
Turns out you can't.
God, it'll be
So
like
I
dogs
left
in the
that
vineyard.
one out.
No, that's fair.
Like dogs in the vineyard where we had to pray the fire away.
We didn't. Thinking on it, we did not do well in fight scenes. Aside from Tom's character, I think Kamarov and I got stuck. We got stuck in the hospital fighting a dog. I think, or no, it was a pack. I think.
Oh yeah, you guys got
And there was
the
another
feral
one.
dogs that invaded the nursing home.
We got.
Actually, I think Provost has the highest body count overall for any of the kids.
Does he?
No, Pro's killed a lot of people.
Yeah,
Shit.
I killed several people in the orphanage.
All right.
I killed
In the raid.
Gator Pete. Yeah. Well, the raid at God's
Oh,
Breath
yeah, you
I
were
was
nuts.
out, but before then, I killed the sorceress.
Yeah. You
and
killed the guy.
I killed the shooter.
He killed the prepper guy in
Yeah, I
God's
killed
Madness.
so he shot a lot of people and
He
animals.
totally did.
And like my stats weren't that good. Like I made intelligence my high stat. My dex was like a dump stat. It was
Well,
like,
like
nine.
I think a lot of your
Yeah.
a lot of your kills were executions.
No, they were pretty close range. I remember.
Yeah.
Like the bear was charging me.
Well, yeah, and like that prepper guy, I think you just capped him
Oh,
in the
yeah,
head
that's
while
true.
you were like talking to him.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. I just as soon as he turns, I shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Because fuck that guy. That's true, and that's the thing. I like that my character wasn't like a combat monster like Tom's second
Yeah.
character, but like he just was. It was the willingness to shoot. And,
Yeah.
Not
He was willing.
to fuck. So that's kind of what some of my favorite moments that were just those choices Provost had to make or decided making.
Choices. There were no choices.
Well,
it was
he
all
thought he made them.
predetermined.
Yeah, so I think my favorite one was actually throwing that guy into the Hound of Chandalos. Because it was totally off book. It was off. I was going off mission, and I got away with it because
Yeah.
they might suspect, but there's no way for them to.
Well, at least it's resolved.
Well, we're so fine. You get the last words. What were some of your favorite moments in the campaign?
I'm trying to think.
Were there any things that didn't work? You thought it would work differently?
I probably need to figure out the first scenario again because I don't think gun show probably works.
It was good, but that's a little idiosyncratic. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's idiosyncratic. I mean, but basically, you need them to do something in time to mark them to make
Yeah.
the picture freaky. So I was just kind of kill time, but I had a lot of fun playing.
I
the
love
show.
The gun
that
show
was
was
great.
hilarious.
It was a great
wouldn't have had
GMing.
That could
Yeah.
be like that mechanically that could be like vignettes. Like
It
Yeah.
made the drop into the cold water a lot more shocking because
Yeah.
it was like, haha, this is funny, and then murdered orphans.
Yeah. So I probably shouldn't have done. I probably should reconsider that.
That wasn't just a drop into cold water. That was a polar bear swim.
My God, the exotic jerky guy was just too good.
I know. God damn it.
I had to bring him into a game.
even a Delta Green campaign needs some levity. I mean, like you can't have.
God, he was so crazy.
Kale. Yeah, this is a thing that happened. That jerky guy.
Yeah, I went to a gun show that we like ran the game Monday.
Yeah.
So.
He was fresh in your head.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Jerky guys out
And
there
talk about
somewhere.
people who live in different realities than you.
Yeah. So any favorite moments?
I'm trying to think. I really thought like the most true detective-y Delta Green moment in the whole session was just like, I think there's a guy in that shed. Pop, pop, pop.
Oh, in the first section.
Yeah, I hope I hit him. And you look at it, it's like you look at all the terrible shit he's doing, like, yep, I hit him. Yeah,
That was a really good one.
that was pretty good. I also really liked.
Why is he trying to?
I also really liked when the second computer scientist figured out what was happening with God's Eye, and then
Oh, yeah.
she disappeared
Yeah.
while on
We're
the
so
phone
young.
with you,
Yeah.
and just crashed into a tank of jet fuel.
That's right. Yeah.
And you like come back, it's like, what the fuck?
Like, no, you can't blame us for this one. No.
So
Oh my God.
We were nowhere near that one, although we were on the phone with
Yeah.
her.
That was a nice little moment, and that like it's thematically Delta Green's scenarios are kind of more. I wouldn't say high concept, but more advanced and more abstract in a lot of ways than typical horror scenarios. Like, this is not, like, unique to God's Seed. Like, if you read a lot of the published Delta Green scenarios, there's a lot of them. And not just the Debt Wheeler ones, but the Debt Wheeler ones in particular have these kind of things that, like, yeah, you're killed by something you couldn't comprehend. Like, yep, all right.
That's that.
One thing I was hoping would happen was that
Fucking Artifact Zero.
there was a pilot guy
Yeah.
in God's Eye who they used drones to take the pictures, but like if you were like curious about what happened, you could have gone up with a camera in a manned plane.
Yeah.
And like the way it was taking the picture, it was literally being transferred to a different universe for a millisecond to take the picture and then coming back. And so I was really hoping one of you like went in the cockpit for a flyby, and then you and Bud are suddenly like on an alien planet for half a second, and then the plane's like tanking because there's no oxygen, and then like suddenly you're back on Earth and just like losing your mind and trying not to die in a plane crash.
Damn, that would have been awesome.
I really wanted that to happen, like where you just like flash Pluto back, and you're like covered in frost, and your eyes are bleeding, and the plane's going down and stalled out.
God, that would have been such a dick move.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's an amazing thought. But I mean, you know what? Yeah, that could have been
Because you're not like a high altitude drone, like sealed up for all that might survive that.
Yeah.
You'd be like a prop small engine plane.
Some two schmucks in a Cessna.
Yeah, and then you're.
Oops.
Yeah.
So with that thought, any final thoughts?
No, it was a good campaign.
Really enjoyed it.
I hope I get to write it up one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not too busy.
Yeah, I got some other stuff to finish.
Some minor project that got some money.
Yeah, it's like a chapbook of poetry.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I've heard of this one. Isn't it Crimson Vendors?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a high concept.
No, I think it's.
You sell red dye during the French Revolution. You're allied with mustard smugglers.
No, it's. No, David, you're thinking of Vermilion Bazaar.
I'm not going to explain. Because you're not supposed to understand everything. Cosmic Horror bitches. All right. Talk to you guys next time.
Bye. See ya.